More small-scale Titans return figures here on Random Review, continuing our look at the most recent Legends wave, looking at the newest Insecticon of the batch, Kickback. One of the things Hasbro said recently, and by recently I mean like within the last 2 years, was that they were going to go through with groups, and that if they did like one Seeker, they were going to do the other two, like at least the main ones. They weren't going to leave anybody out of groups anymore. And it took them a few series, but they finally gave us all 3 of the Insecticons at the similar price point and scale. And here is the finale of the batch. Kickback was the one I had as a kid, so this is the one I was most looking forward to. So of course it was the one that took the longest to come out. And let's see how it actually did. As you can see, he is a very robotic grasshopper, insectoid, all the way through. Nice purple, nice black plastic, giving it its signature original colors and hits of yellow here and there to finish it off. Looking at the big bug head, you can see giant yellow eyes, little antennas sticking up from the top, which is about as accurate to the original G1 as you could get, aside from the fact that this isn't his robot head. It is a completely new head, done up as a grasshopper. Unlike the original G1 head, where you just kind of rotate it around, point its antenna up, and hope for the best. This one is at least trying a little bit more to give you that insect look. And speaking of, unlike the G1 version, this one actually has the abdomen section of the bug, whereas in the original G1, the legs were just so big and close together, you didn't really have to worry about that little detail being exposed. But here, it is absolutely included, which is a nice little touch. It gives you a little bit more accuracy to the original bug. Now, that being said, it's a very small abdomen and very gigantic legs for a grasshopper, but hey, we can only do so much. At some point, it does have to look like the original G1. That does bring me to the translucent plastic content in this toy. I'm not going to harp on the fragility of translucent plastic. However, the wings get on my nerves just a little bit. I like the overall look of them. I like the detail lines going through them. It gives you this insectoid look and still keeps it very digital, almost like his wings are made of energon, which is a really neat look and idea. And the yellow and the translucent is much more appropriate for being an insect wing. That said, it's not the wings he's supposed to have. His wings are very sharp, almost like blades coming off of him, and they're chrome in G1. Now, I wouldn't expect chrome here. I'd expect the silver that's used along the side of the leg, but it's still a very different detail, very different look going for him, and I feel like it takes away from some of his signature appearance, and you'll see that more in robot mode. But for now, let's see what playability we got. Well, the bug legs in the front are completely stuck, as is the head, so all you can really get is the fact that he can actually stand on his bug legs. Hey, if you grew up with Beast Wars toys, you'd know that's a really important detail. His legs on the back are articulated, so you do have a range of motion here. It's a little bit more useful in robot mode and some of its transformation element, but it's still there should you want to use it. And the wings do have a ball joint as well as a little bit of up and down hinging. So you do have some, at least some variance you can accomplish. But he's a Titans return toy, which means he also needs a cockpit. And in a clever way, they've actually used the original cockpit design of the original G1 toys, since originally it was a Diaclone toy, meaning it had a pilot, or at least a spot for a pilot to go. And likewise, you can do the same with Titans Return Titan Masters, which is a clever throwback to his origins as a Diaclone toy. Also, just kind of makes sense, you know? It's about the only thing you really could do with him. So that being said, let's get this guy to robot mode. Let's see what else this has in store for Insecticon fans. Well, for starters, we're going to split that abdomen section and get his arms situated. It's a little bit tricky. There's a lot of ball joints in here that have to twist in just the right way. We'll give him a little bit of clearance by getting these bug legs down. The wings come with it. Those go up. And you're already pretty much close to how the robot mode's supposed to go. He's not the most complex of transformers. Bug leg folds up in half like so, and then comes through the leg in order to create the feet, sticking out like so. So we move the arms down, get the elbow ball joints in the right position, rotate all the way around to get those out. From here, bug head goes down to reveal the robot head, flip down, twist around to get that into its spot, and from there, rotate the wings upward in order to complete Kickback as a robot, looking very much like the original Insecticon. A few changes here and there, a few modernizations, but for the most part, he's definitely looking the part. Now, the transformation itself, very different, of course. It's got elements of the G1, but because of the new head, the new abdomen, the new bug parts in general, as well as how the wings are working here, you do have a very different toy. So, commendable that he's not just the G1 toy with added articulation. This size, I think he wouldn't do well with that. Like taking a look at the head, gigantic antenna. To my recollection, the original G1 did not have antenna quite this tall. So it does come off looking a little bit interesting. The head might just be a skosh too small, I'm thinking. But for the most part, it works. It's got his signature visor as well as the silver face, and it works well enough, I suppose. Now, another thing about this particular version of the toy is he's got a very different silhouette to him than the original G1 Kickback, which is something that throws me off just a little bit. Aside from colors being a little bit different because of all the extra purple added in, you're missing like black that should be up on the upper arms. The big thing to me is the fact that you've got this big backpack of bug parts now that didn't exist on the original. The head, the legs, and the wings all come off and fold onto his back, which makes him a little bit back heavy. Luckily, he does have some heel spurs going on that helps with that. But on the other hand, it's just awkward looking. Like he's just carrying the... It's weird, like he's carrying a backpack of bug parts, which is just a creepy thought in general. But there's also something else to this, that the proportions on this guy changed because of the transformations change. Of course, his legs being pretty heavy, but that's pretty much, that's not too bad. The arms are really thin. That's what bugs me the most, I think. No, it's not, but for now it is. But yeah, his arms get really scrawny at the biceps. It's just a really... It's throwing the look off for me. And he doesn't get to keep his like signature hand style from the original G1 toy, but hey, at least this way he can use standard guns, so he's a little bit more compatible anyway. No, what's throwing me off is that backpack, in particular the wings, because this is again where I'm kind of at odds with the original silhouette. I expect these to be sharp and silver, but I also expect them to be all the way over here and part of his torso, not hanging off of his backpack. I feel like that's part of Kickback's signature appearance, you know, the same way Shockwave has no face except for one eye, or Megatron has an arm cannon. I feel like it's part of his identity that's lacking in this toy because of the new transformation. And while it does create a more interesting Transformer, it does create a less effective Kickback, if that makes any sense. Anything where you add that much kibble to the back, it's going to be less effective, frankly. So let's at least see how articulation came out in this guy. You do get the head rotation all the way around, and it does move up and down, so that's good. Ball joints in the shoulders, not bad. You get plenty of rotation and movement in there. Elbow at the same time, so also another ball joint for rotation and bending. And it does have a good beyond 90-degree bend. Nothing at the waist, but we do have, again, full working ball joints for the hips. And again, full working ball joints at the knees, so rotation as well as a decent 90-degree bend. So posability he has, so that's the good thing. Still feel like he's missing something, you know? He does keep the classic color scheme, I will admit. Here's the interesting thing about the color scheme is, well, this is the downside of creating these guys individually. So, for instance, if I bring up the first released, which was, well, Shrapnel, but they have to call him Scrapnel now, you actually see the purple is a little bit different, and of course he went for a more neutral, painted-on yellow, whereas the translucent yellow does look quite different. We bring out Bombshell from the Combiner War line. Again, it's a slight difference. He's got a deeper purple color to him, and more of a marigold color for the yellow. So you've got these little variances. They look great together. It is obviously the iconic Insecticons from G1. But at the same time, I'm not entirely sure if I like the slight color variances to separate them out and give them their own little personalized looks, or if I would have been happier if they matched spot on. It's a little bit of a debate in my mind, but it does kind of factor in a little bit the fact that Kickback doesn't quite match in with the others. And part of that, again, is because all of their stuff that was originally in chrome was done up in gray plastic, where that was not done for Kickback, and his look kind of suffers and he doesn't match up with the others nearly as well as he should as a result. But in general, that is Titan's Return Kickback. He is a decent little figure, he's well articulated, and the bug mode is definitely more accurate to the original. But he does suffer in some strange proportions, a big heavy backpack of his parts, and a little bit of loss of identity. You know, whether or not it suits you and it's enough of a sacrifice to still call it your Kickback, that's perfectly fine. Me, I just feel like this could have been done a lot better than it was.